This is a retold version of Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez.
Alfredo, a dignified young lawyer in his early 30s, was a man of routine. His life was a predictable waltz of legal briefs, family dinners, and a quiet anticipation of his wedding to Esperanza, his longtime sweetheart. Yet, beneath the surface of his composure, a storm was brewing. One day, while his father, Don Julian, and his sister, Carmen, bantered about his impending nuptials, Alfredo's patience snapped. "When it will be, father?" he asked, his voice sharp. "Esperanza must be tired of waiting." Don Julian's gaze held a knowing sadness. He seemed to understand the unspoken tension that hung between Alfredo and Esperanza, but he offered no explanation. Alfredo, consumed by shame, could only recall the intensity of his love for Esperanza, a love that had once felt unshakable. Then, a new chapter unfolded. Don Julian invited Alfredo to visit Judge de Vallia's rented house. It was there, amidst by the hush whispers of the old house, that Alfredo met Julia Salas. She wasn't conventionally beautiful, but there was a captivating allure about her, a subtle magnetism that drew Alfredo in. Day after day, Alfredo and his father visited the judge's house, their conversations with the judge fading into the background as Alfredo and Julia found themselves drawn to each other. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Alfredo began to fall in love. The storm within him was taking on a new shape, a shape that threatened to upend his carefully constructed life.
Esperanza, her brood furrowed with concern, finally confronted Alfredo about being the change in his behavior. "Why don't you wait for me after the church anymore?" she asked, her voice laced with a hint of hurt. Alfredo, his gaze flickering, mumbled and something about being busy, about errands with his father, about the visits to Judge Del Valle's house. He couldn't bring himself to tell her the truth. He couldn't bear to see the pain in her eyes, the hurting he knew that he was causing.
One day, Don Julian, Julia's father, invited the judge and his family to his coconut plantation, a sprawling paradise nestled near the beach. As they strolled along the sandy path, Julia, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, confessed, "This is the last time we'll see each other." Alfredo's world shattered. The weight of his engagement, the promise he had made to Esperanza, crushed down on him with the force of tidal wave. He felt a pang of regret, a yearning for a different path, a path where he could have chosen Julia over everything else.
Their final encounter was a bittersweet symphony of unspoken words. Julia, having learned of his engagement, offered a forced smile and a hollow congratulations. The years that followed were a blur of obligations and compromises. Alfredo married Esperanza, his life a tapestry of quiet contentment. He was not unhappy, not truly. His marriage was peaceful, stable, and predictable, but the ghost of Julia lingered, a phantom presence that haunted his dreams and whispered in his ears.
Years later, he found himself in Julia's hometown, a place he had vowed never to return to. He was there on a professional mission, but the thought of seeing her again sent a shiver down his spine. The years had etched lines on her face. Her laughter was a little less carefree, but she was still the captivating melody that resonated within him. He felt a strange sense of detachment, a realization that the passion he had once felt was now a distant echo. He was no longer in love with her, not in the way he had been. The memory of their love, like a fading photograph, was all that remained. He understood now that the love he had felt for Julia was a fleeting flame, a beautiful illusion that had burned brightly and then extinguished itself. And he was left with the quiet contentment of his marriage, a love that, while different, was no less real.